We're being told every day by the media, politicians, and our universities that America is unfair. We are unequal. Now, do I believe that? Yeah. I believe it to a certain degree. I believe everybody is unequal or unfair. And what I mean by that is I don't believe there's a certain color or demographic in the world that has more unfairness or less unfairness. I believe we're all equally foolish. And I mean that in a good way. I mean every race, every demographic, every social demographic, we all make mistakes and we're all just as foolish. We all have the same fears. We're all the same on the inside. But the media and the politicians and universities love to tell us that you are being treated unfairly, you are unequal, and that the CEOs of the world are taking advantage of you, or they're super rich, or taking advantage of you and keeping you in place like a slave. That, I think, is foolish, and I think is a mistake. I think that's the wrong message. I think actually there's a reason behind that message that they're trying to tell us, but that's for another time. I think the only inequality that's really happening financially in this world is me, meaning, or you. It's these 6 inches between our ears. It's the way we think. I think that's where we have the problem. It's easy to point the finger and say, well, the CEO, the athlete, the actor, they're unfair, they're making too much money. And to sit back in our armchair in our living room and point to those who are out doing something, who are creating something, and scream and yell that it's unfair, we're unequal. Or it's unfair between men and women, or it's unfair between colors, or it's unfair between countries. I'm going to tell you right now, our problem is here. It's not a lack of money. You don't have a money problem. You and I, we have a lack of knowledge problem. That's where the inequality is. Some have more knowledge than others when it comes to how does money work. Think of it this way. Right now the media is especially telling us that corporations are unfair and the CEO is making hundreds of millions of dollars, and I don't know what they make. But I do know this, we are paid based on our value we bring to the game and the problems we solve. Did you hear that? We are paid based on the value we bring into the game, into the business world, and on the problems we solve. So if we're not solving problems and if we're not bringing real value, you're just not going to make much. I remember when I started out my career after the military, I was making about $2,000 a month, but I was working 3 jobs and running a small business out of my home. 18 hours a day, every day of the week I worked. I was only making $2,000 a month. I was working a lot of hours. I was working incredibly hard. And I could have pointed the finger and said, why does a CEO deserve more than me and I'm working just as hard as he is? And it's because the CEO was bringing more value than I was, solving more problems than I was. Now, as I started to work on myself, not just on my skill, but as I started to work on my attitude, where I bring more value, my income continued to grow. And there were days I was making as much as I did in a whole month because I brought more value to the game. What if we told people like Michael Jordan, you are not fair, Michael. You can jump higher, you can jump longer, you can shoot better, and you're a better player than everybody else. So that's inequality, it's unfair, and because it's unfair, we're going to put weights on your ankles. Because you're just better than everybody else, and that's just not fair. Now here's what we don't understand, we don't see. We don't see how hard a guy like Michael Jordan had to work. We don't see his beginning. Most of us don't even know that in high school he was cut from basketball. How hard he had to work and what he went through to build his body up in the pros to become the legend that he is. We don't see that. We just see the end result and we say, well, that's unfair. He has a special advantage. No, his advantage was right here. He decided to take responsibility for his life and get his butt out there every day, even if he didn't feel like it, and he worked on himself, and he brought value to the game, and people were willing to pay more for that because of what he brought. What value are you bringing today? What problems are you solving today? Because the only inequality financially that's happening in your life is the one you believe right here. That's all that's happening. You're your own worst enemy or your own greatest asset. But you get to decide every day. And if you're complaining about CEOs, Wall Street, and business and actors, then I can tell you right now, yes, there is inequality. You have it right here, and you're going to make minimum wage or thereabouts for the rest of your life. Decide today to work on yourself. Grow your attitude and bring value to that which you put your hand to do. Learn to solve more and greater problems, and watch what happens to you. My name is Ed Carcarey. I'd love to connect with you at edcarcarey.com. Find your passion, you'll find your life.